Dia gwaith gach dina, an tachtan seo, by me jig fallum fuin Aimsir Fhaistineach. Aimsir Fhaistineach. Now, Dowlam Shiv Hannah Fain, you already learned about. Dowlam Shiv Hannah Fain fuin Aimsir Cacha, past tense, agus an Aimsir Loihrach, present tense. So inish, an Aimsir Fhaistineach. Can you guess what it is? That's right, the robot is a clue. Future tense. So things that will happen in the future, things that haven't happened yet. So tá míid ag caint faoi rudaí ar nós amórach, tomorrow. An tachtan sechuan. Now have a look at this one, sechuan, because it's going to come up a few more times. It means next week. An tachtan sechuan, next week. An mi sechuan, next month. An bhliain sechuan, next year. Okay, fecan seo I gceann. I have that underlined because it's coming up a few more times. When we talk about time, I gceann means in a. So I gceann seachtaine in a week. I gceann míosa in a month. I gceann bliana in a year. Inish, fechaí ar an abert. Look at this sentence. Glán mé an seomra. Now, we would look at that word glán and think something's missing there. When we see glán like that, it usually has a H in it, because that's what glán, clean, looks like in the Aimsir Cacha, the past tense. But we're not using the Aimsir Cacha here, we're using the Aimsir Fhaistineach, the future tense, and we're going to say, I will clean the room. So we need to put on an ending. And that ending can be pronounced two ways. Some people, like me, pronounce it as he. So I would say, glán hi mé an seomra. Glán hi mé an seomra. Glán hi mé an seomra. Sometimes people pronounce this as fi, so they do pronounce that F sound, and they would say glán fi mé an seomra. Glán fi mé an seomra. Both of them are correct. It kind of depends where in Ireland you're from. But I say it this way, glán hi mé an seomra. You might have noticed we're using may, the word for me. When we did the Aimsir Cacha, the past tense, we said glán mé an seomra. I cleaned the room. Now we're saying glán hi mé an seomra. I will clean the room. But you'll probably remember that when we did the Aimsir Loihrach, we didn't use the word may. The word may was kind of absorbed into our verb, and we said glánum an seomra. So that's a little difference here in the Aimsir Fhaistineach. We don't have a special ending for me, so we actually use the word may. So, glán hi mé an seomra, I will clean the room. Tá gota leathan an seo, agus gota leathan an seo. We've two broad vowels, and that tells us that we're doing the right thing here. If I had a broad one, and then I had a narrow one, I'd know, well, that can't be right, because it's always quail the quail, narrow with narrow, leathan le leathan, broad with broad. So when I say leathan, and I see another leathan, I know tá mé ceart galore. Glán hi tú an seomra, you clean the room. Glán hi sé an seomra, he cleans the room. Glán hi she an seomra, she cleans the room. Glán hi siv an seomra, you lot, or in Dublinese, yis clean the room. Glán hi siad an seomra. And glán hi an madra an seomra. Like, you could put anything in here. This could be somebody's name. You could say glán hi Fiona an seomra. It could be a brush. Glán hi an scoob an seomra. The brush will clean the room. And now you probably know what's coming next. Muid, for we. Now, one pattern we've seen is whether we're in the Aimsir Cacha or the Aimsir Loihrach, there is always a special ending for we. And it's the same in the Aimsir Fhaistineach, so we need to get rid of our muid, and it's glán himíd an seomra. It sounds very like our Aimsir Loihrach. Our Aimsir Loihrach would be glán imíd, and now we're saying glán himíd. Or like I said earlier, some people would say glán famíd. So either of those is right. Glán himíd an seomra, we will clean the room. Glán famíd an seomra, we will clean the room. So, sin Bríthar leathan. That's a broad verb. Now let's have a look at Bríthar quail. And let's just emphasize that there, that we have leathan and leathan, so we know this one is right. Now let's go and have a look at Bríthar quail, where this might not be right. Éist mé leis an gceol. Well, we can see that éist doesn't have its D apostrophe to tell us it's Aimsir Fhaistineach, so it can't be I listened to the music. It doesn't have its éistim leis an gceol to tell me it's Aimsir Fhaistineach. So I know, well, this isn't ready yet, I need to do something else here. So let's put on our ending for the Aimsir Fhaistineach. Let's put on our future ending, Éist mé leis an gceol, I will listen to the music. And let's see, we have a gutta leathan, but we have a gutta quail. And we can't have those two together. That's wrong. It's quail le quail, leathan le leathan. It can't be leathan le quail or quail le leathan. So we need to get rid of that, and we need to think about, how could I change this spelling to make it work? I want you to think about that now. How could I make the spelling of the he bit different? Look, we just dropped the A. So now we have Éist mé leis an gceol, I will listen to the music, agus féach, quail, agus quail, tá sé ceart galore. Éist tú leis an gceol, éist sé leis an gceol, éist sí leis an gceol, éist sibh leis an gceol, éist siad leis an gceol, éist an madra leis an gceol. And now you probably know what's coming next. Éist muid leis an gceol. Now in some parts of Ireland they will just say éist muid, but most of the time we need to put on a new ending. So let's put on the ending we had before. Agus gutta leathan, gutta quail. Me ceart. We can't have those two things together, can we? So again, based on our last one, have a think. Because it's better for you to think about this yourself. How am I going to fix this? How am I going to change this spelling to make it work? I bet you know already. Yeah, just like the last time, we're just dropping the A. So now we have Éist himíd leis an gceol, we will listen to the music. Okay. And we can see we've a quail there and a quail there, so we know it's right. That's how we figure that one out. Now, táimid chun féachant ceistena, asking questions, and I bet you will remember a lot of this from the Aimsir Fhaistineach. What do we do when we ask a question? Let's look at an example. An scríobh he tú, will you write? We use an. That's how we ask our question in the Aimsir Fhaistineach and the Aimsir Fhaistineach. An. That's our question word. Now, do you remember what happens after an? Might be difficult to remember because it's actually not happening here. Let's have a look. We get urus, which is when we have these small letters that go with another word. So the uru on a B is an M, the uru on a C is a G, D gets an N, F gets a BH, it's lucky it gets 2, G gets an N as well, P gets a B, and T gets a D, and all of the vowels, not just O, all of the vowels get an N hyphen. So I'm going to box those off. They're kind of in my way, so I'm going to put them over here. Why is there no uru here though? Because it's an S. You can see, is S written in the box there? No. So S doesn't get an uru. So our question is, an scríobh he tú, will you write? And my answer is, scríobh he mé, I will write. Remember that we don't say tá and níl, we say I will write. We answer the question kind of with the question. So scríobh he mé, I will write, and my no is ní scríobh he mé. Now I wonder, do you remember what was the other little change that happened when we said no? And again, it's going to be tough to remember because it's not happening here. Any ideas? When we say ní, when we say no, we usually put a H in. But there are certain words that can't take a H. We can't put a H on an L, an N, an or, and an S that has another consonant. So look at the SC there. None of these guys can take H's, and my scríobh he has an SC, so that's why there's no H here. Okay, so that's an example of one that doesn't take the uru and doesn't take the H. But now we'll look at some examples of ones that do. Okay, so let's go to our next question. On gwerhi tu, will you put? On gwerhi tu, will you put? And you can see it's a C, so it gets the G uru. My answer to will you put, gwerhi me. Yeah, I will put. Gwerhi me. I will put. But if I didn't want to, and I said no, I will not put, I'm going to use ni, and what does it get? Yeah, it gets a H. Ni gwerhi me. Ni gwerhi me. On gwerhi tu, gwerhi me, ni gwerhi me. Okay, an uru for my question, and a H if I'm saying no. Let's look at another example here. On nolhi tu. So remember we said that the uru for all of the vowels, every vowel, is an N with a hyphen. So on nolhi tu, will you drink? Olhi me, I will drink. And ni olhi me, I won't drink. And none of the vowels can take a H, so there's no H there. So ni olhi me, I won't drink. So just remember that one. When we're asking our questions in the Aimsir Fhaistineach, present tense, and the Aimsir Fháistineach, future tense, it's an uru for the question, if you're allowed, and it's a H for the no, if you're allowed. So, we're near. Let's just recap a little bit. We looked in this video at the one-syllable verbs. We only looked at the one-syllable ones. And we looked at the Latin ones, the big, fat, broad ones like my elephant. An example here would be dún, to close. Dún he may, I will close. And we can see there's the same ending for may, tu, she, shiv, and shead. But then we have a special ending for we, dún himij. We have quail, Latin we have Latin here and Latin there. So we know that that's right. Let's look at our quail one, narrow, symbolized by our skinny flamingo. Ka. Ka means to throw. It also means to wear and to spend. It's a very multi-purpose verb. So, kahi, may tu, she, shiv, and shead, same ending for all of them. And we just have our special ending for we, kahamij. And you can see the only difference here is that we drop the A to make it work. So there's my quail eye and my quail eye. So that's the only difference. So I hope the more we do these, you're starting to see these patterns and how they work. And I hope you get on well with your work this week.